Hello and welcome back. This is DMAC and today I'm going to be looking at this challenge lock. I've got a couple of challenge locks here. These are all ones that I've made and sent out to the community, and these have done the rounds. That one there, I think I did a video on making this one, actually a making process. I'll leave a link to that down there if you're interested in making challenge locks. All the information on how to modify the pins and everything else is in that video. Dufa, one there. This is one of my personal favourites, the Tallywhacker. Lovely, interesting shape there, as you can see. And there's a few people in the community that have played with my Tallywhacker. You'll be pleased to know that I got these locks back. Because I think this one in particular, which I'll talk about in a minute, wasn't working properly, so I had to do some modifications to that. But what I've done with this one, it's been completely repinned. I always felt when this one went out, it was a bit of a rush. I spent too long engraving this lovely penis into it and didn't spend enough time mucking about with the pins. So what I've done is I've given it a completely new key, more challenging bit in there, and it's been completely repinned. So this does pick like a new lock. So if you have played with my Tallywhacker in the past, I'm going to send these back out, and yeah, this is essentially a new lock. So yeah, you'll probably want to pick that again. Anyway, move those out of the way. The one I wanted to concentrate on today was this one. As I said, I think there was one chamber that was that had sort of stopped working, was seized. So this is a 5-pin cylinder, so it's essentially a 5-pin core, and it wasn't working as it should do. It came back to me, and I've replaced a few of the pins, done a few more modifications in there, and I've also changed the bitting. When this lock originally left me, the bitting was very flat. They were all very high lifts. So I think you could probably, take the flat back of a pick, put it in the keyway, lift it up. I'm not saying that anyone did that. Who knows? But it's just something that you could do to get the open. Again, this one kind of left me in a bit of a rush, and I didn't get around to putting decent bitting on it. So what I've done now is just put some low cuts in there along with those high cuts, and that makes it a little bit more challenging, and the mods that I've done to the inside. The reason for the video was I just wanted to feature this lock. This lock's been out in the community for a while. Plenty of people have picked it, but I thought it might be nice to do a video on it, mainly to reveal its secrets to you. I know that not everyone guts challenge locks, and you should always, as you can see there, shim challenge locks, because obviously some nasty modifications have been done. They don't open up like normal locks. But anyway, not everyone would have seen what's inside this and why it does what it does. So let me just run through how the lock works. You've got a hard side and an easy side. The lock is called choices, and the idea is that depending on which way you tension it, so we've got this little arrow up here which is currently pointing at the eye of choices. If you want to take the easy route, then you tension it clockwise, and that would, if you pick it, bring this arrow around to this little dot here at the 3 o'clock position. Alternatively, or in addition to, you can pick it counterclockwise, and that will bring that arrow around to this little dot in the 9 o'clock position, and you've got to get it to that dot to fully open it up. So that's all down to the modifications that I've done inside. So what I'm going to do is I will first of all pop this in a vise, and I'll try and show you why the hard side picks hard as opposed to the easy side, and then I'll open it up, I'll reveal its secrets to you, and then you will see what's going on and why it's harder to pick in one position than it is to pick in the other. So bear with me. So I've got him all secured, almost secured in the vise there, and he's working as he should do. And we're going to try and rotate to that position, picking him. So let's top of the keyway and a deep hook. And we're going to go counterclockwise towards the hard side and see if I can show you exactly why that side's a bit harder. Okay, so I'm just sort of getting lots of clicks on the pins, feels like serrations. And we've dropped into a bit of a false set there. Just take him out. It's not a sprung core, so it'll stay there. As you can see, we're in a respectable full set there, just past the eye, but we'll carry on going. Nothing on 1, 2 or 3. I'm doing super light tension because I'm just trying to feel. I can't feel anything. Super light tension, barely touching the tension wrench. Nothing on 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go back and reset and try again. Again, lots of little clicks and movements, just kind of poking around in there. There's a couple of clicks there on 2, and we've got that nice respectable full set back. And there we go, we got a big click out of 1 there, and as you can see we've gone into a very deep full set. I'm not going to pick it any further. If you can get past this stage, you will get over to the open position, but that is, let's just zoom you out. So that is a nice deep full set there. The driver pins are in the position of that eye there, and you can see they're completely misaligned now with those key pins, and that's the trap that you have to get past on the hard side. I've used this the mechanism in here for a couple of challenge locks. Not all challenge locks, it's just something nice to put in there, but this was the first one that I put it in. I've got to say, I think about challenge locks all the time, you know, coming up with different ideas and things that could be fun and different ways to play about with the pins. And I came up with this idea a while ago. I put it together. This is version 2, I think. The first one I did it to didn't quite work, and I had to redo it. This was version 2. But in between version 1 and 2, I was watching a Bosnian Bill video in which I'm not sure who made it. There was a challenge lock in a state somewhere, and it used exactly the same mechanism as this. I didn't copy it. I come up with the idea as well, but that video was like a couple of years old. So I think that sometimes when a lot of people are thinking about the same things, they can come up with the same ideas. So this mechanism is the same one, I think pretty much the same that was featured in that video. But I thought it was an original idea at the time. Turns out it wasn't, and they'd beat me to it. But either way, it's a fun thing to put into challenge locks, and maybe you can do the same. But anyway, let's lock him back up, and we'll open him up and see what the secret is behind him. So we've got this little clip on the back, so let's zoom you in a bit, and I can reveal his secrets. There we go. So I've got one of these horrible clips that force you to gouge your thumbs whenever you try to open them up. I wish there was a more elegant way to do this, but it appears not. There we go, I think he's almost there. There we go. And he should just pop off. Now, if you ever pick a challenge lock, always shim them. As a challenge lock maker, I know the sort of modifications that I and others do to them, particularly with the ones that have this groove on the back. You know, if you've got T-pins in there, which this one does have, they will fall into that slot. You will brick the lock, and that will be the end of that challenge lock. So always shim your locks. This shim doesn't seem to be wanting to go in there, and you kind of expect it to be quite stiff because of the modifications that have been done. He's not wanting to go in there at all. Let's see if we can go again. It's just getting him past that first pin, which he's past now. There we go. I think he's all the way in now. So we can pop this out, reveal his secrets. So I'm going to put that down there for a minute. As you can see, we've got some modifications to the core there, and I'm going to explain exactly what they do in just a minute. But first of all, we're just going to dump out these key pins so I don't drop them everywhere. So that one's a standard. 2 is... I'll tell you what, I'm going to get all these out and I'll quickly show you them, and you can see exactly how it all works. So 1 and 3 are standards. 2, which is a new pin, this is one of the modifications I made to it. This used to be a standard in version 1, but it's like a serrated spool. And pin number 4 is a serrated, a nice long one as well. And if we look at the chamber, 2 and 4 have been threaded, so it will catch in all of those. And then we've got these modifications here to 1, 3 and 5, and what that is a little dimple just on one side. And if you remember, just going back to the front of the lock there, the hard choice is when you're trying to rotate this counterclockwise. Now the pins are pressing down on the key pins there, and if you're rotating counterclockwise, you are going to come into contact with these 3. If you're going clockwise, you're not. So that's the difference between the hard side and the easy side. Counterclockwise avoids those traps, and clockwise avoids those traps. Counterclockwise means you could or should engage with those. And let me explain what they are when we look inside here. So in 1, we've got this little master wafer. I'll put him down there. And then behind the master wafer, we've got this little T-pin. You just see him just there. And in chamber 2, we have a serrated, which lines up with the serrated we've got in chamber 2. In 3, we've got another master wafer and another T-pin. I'm sure you're seeing a pattern now. There we go. And let's go to the back actually. In 5, you can see there, we've got another master wafer and another T-pin. And in 4, we've got serrated, and I'm just going to take that section out there, and we'll just get these springs out. Now I know what order these springs were in, but again, if you're doing a challenge lock, it's always good to check the order of the springs. In 5, we've got a particularly strong spring, and all the others are the same springs that you normally get with these little Yale rim cylinders. Number 5 is super strong, and what that means, if we look at the key there, number 5's got to be lifted up quite high, all the way to the top, and you see you've got to fight that spring tension. And also that helps the trap in number 5 come into play. So let me just organise this, and then I can give you a better close-up. Two seconds, I'm almost there. Get this all tidied up. So there we go. So we've got basically serrated in chamber 2 and serrated in chamber 4, and that goes with the serrations in 2 and 4 in the plug. And also, if we look in here, not sure I'll be able to get it in the right light, but I did serrate chambers 2. You can just see chamber 2 there in the Bible, and chamber 4 were serrated through the bottom now. So that means that these 2 and 4 just give us lots and lots of clicks. So then, apart from this spring, chambers 1, 3 and 5 are exactly the same. So you've got a standard at the bottom, then you've got this wafer, and then you've got this T-pin. And I'll just quickly explain how that works. I'm sure some of you have guessed. So when you use the key, so when we pop the key in like that, if we look at, say, we'll pop chamber 1 in. So when we put the key in, and I just drop that key pin in, it's flush, and that means it's at shear line, so that plug can turn. And what that means is up the top, in chamber 1, you've got that T-pin and the master wafer. So that means the master wafer is in this position, and when the key's used and the plug's turned, that master wafer glides over that little dimple depression that I've got just there on those 3 chambers there. So that means that the key operates perfectly in both ways. When you pick it, however, the key isn't in. So we've got that there. The master wafer will sit inside there like that, and then when this lock is at rest, that T-pin sits in position 1, just like that. As you try to pick it, you'll lift it up, and as you lift it up and you're putting rotational force on that core, if you rotate clockwise, as we said, the easy side, this T-pin, if you release it, let's get this at a better angle, the T-pin, as you release it, will just glide around that core and you'll get an open. Now you'll get an open whether you hit the T-pin or whether you lift the master wafer all the way up. But on the counterclockwise side, which is the hard side, if you lift up chambers, bear in mind this is happening in chambers 1, chamber 3 and chamber 5. If you lift it up to that angle and you're putting rotational force on the core with a tension wrench as you're trying to pick it, these T-pins will slide automatically over into that trap, and if they're pushed down by firm springs, which in this case they are, they will just sit there and you'll get that impossibly deep full set. Depending on how it's picked, you could be lucky enough to have lifted these master wafers in 1, 3 and 5 up to the point where you just glide straight over it, and that's the only way you're going to get it open. But what can happen, I think what happens when we get that really deep full set, is that chambers 1, 3 and 5 are all locked in here. We've got a T-pin in there locking that one, a T-pin in there locking 3 and a T-pin in there locking 5. So when that T-pin is in that position, your pick is inside the lock, still trying to get counter rotation and feedback, but you're not going to get any, because you're lifting this pin up here, and all that's doing is hitting the inside of the lock body there. So it feels completely dead, because that master wafer and that pin have got nowhere to go, because we've got this T-pin sitting here, not going anywhere. So that's how it works. I hope that was a good enough explanation to sort of let you know how it works. I think when this came back to me, let's just get this organised a little bit. When the lock came back to me, the modifications that I've done, along with my tallywhacker, essentially make it a pretty new lock, because we've got this more challenging bit in. So the serrated pins don't need to be lifted as much, and these ones are quite high sets in 1, 3 and 5. I'll just pop that pin back in there. The other modification I did when I first released this lock was although I'd serrated the chambers, I didn't serrate the pins in here, so there was standards in 2 and 4, but what it means now is there's more serrations in those chambers there, and because I've serrated or threaded, sorry, chambers 2 and 4 in there, it does mean that let's get one of these pins and pop him in. That's number 4. It does mean that as you're lifting, this is in 2 and 4. I'll try and get hold of the pin. Where is it? Can't find him. Where is he? There he is. As you're lifting him up and getting those serrations, it's quite easy to overset, because you've got to have a deep hook to get to position 5, and if you don't have a deep hook, you could overset 4, overset 2 as well, and those serrations there are going to lock into the serrations that we've got in the Bible. So there you go. I find myself as a challenge lock maker that sometimes seeing the key bit in, I don't tend to mummify the keys. Seeing the key bit in does give you a bit of a clue, but it doesn't necessarily tell you exactly what's going on in there, and can lead you astray sometimes. And certainly for myself, I think I'm better at making challenge locks than picking them, and even knowing what I've done to it Still doesn't make it easy for me to open, and certainly the hard side on this I find very hard, and because you're constantly fighting with that deep false set where you're in a trap, and the only way to get out of that is to manually counter rotate and push those pins up even further until the point that you get these 3 master wafers. Oh, dropped him there. Yeah, until the point that you get these 3 master wafers up to a height where they can glide over those little traps, and then you can get your open. Anyway, let's just zoom you out again. So I'm going to put this one back together. I'm pleased with the modifications that I've done to this, and happy for it to go back out in the world near its secrets are revealed. And these other ones will be going out with it. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you come across this lock, maybe that will help you, maybe it won't. And you can, perhaps when you're building challenge locks, try doing something like that yourself, play about with it. It does give you a really deep full set, and it can be really frustrating to pick if you don't know it's there. But there you go, that's my choices lock. I wish I could say that it was an original idea. I thought it was an original idea, but someone got there before me. I'll try and find the link to that video actually and put it down below, because I'm not sure who it was that sent that lock to Bill and came up with the idea first. But either way, it's a fun lock to pick. I'm going to leave a little link up there so you can subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and there'll be more videos like this and other picking videos as we go on. But thanks for watching, and bye for now.